So there was a pretty big rumor that was pushed out today that involves Sony buying a very big company that would mean that they would acquire a lot of huge video game IPs, but I gotta be honest, the source that pushed out this rumor is, well, it's shady at best. And even if this is true, I don't know if it's necessarily going to indicate that this is for sure going to happen, because it sounds like this might still just be in the early stages, but nonetheless, still very interesting, still very potentially big. So this is coming from a website called SEScoops, and if you have never heard of that website, you don't have to feel bad, because they do not report on video game stuff at all. This is quite literally a website on WWE drama. Yeah, you heard that right. The wrestling, the fake wrestling thing. That is what this website is about. So this story came amongst the other stories today, such as a new show might lead to SmackDown format change. Fans have been demanding, or Shotzi reveals which WWE star was first to call her after release. So don't know how much weight you do want to give this. I will actually talk about why I do feel that they actually still technically could have some inside scoop here. But nonetheless, let's get into what they say. So they say less than a week after Warner Bros. Discovery announced it was splitting into two separate companies, Sony is considering a purchase of Warner Bros. Discovery's streaming and other assets. So it says sources, so this is their sources, have told SEScoops that Sony is considering a purchase of the newly announced WBD streaming and studios company, which is expected to complete its separation from WBD Global Networks by mid-2026. Sony is interested in acquiring WBD's HBO Max streaming service, IPs, and its gaming assets. So to kind of make this all make sense here, basically Warner Brothers did recently announce that the Warner Brothers Discovery division, they are going to separate into basically two different parts. One of the parts is going to be the part that has like all of the cable TV channels on it. I believe that's the part that's basically failing right now and is in some serious debt. The other one is going to be the more successful one, and that is going to be like the streaming service part and the video game part. So apparently that is what Sony is wanting to buy. Specifically, they don't want to buy the part of it that is that includes the cable channels, because it does say that sources say Sony was only interested in acquiring WBD's streaming, studio, and gaming assets if they were separated from its cable networks, which have lost millions of homes as viewers abandon traditional cable packages. So the reason I do think that, oddly enough, this WWE news website could maybe have a good scoop on this is actually due to these cable network channels. Since WWE is like on a cable channel, I mean, Warner Bros., they have a lot of different cable channels themselves. It's a stretch, but I mean, looking at that, I guess I could see how, these two things could cross. But ultimately, even if this is true, I do have to say that, this could still be nothing much, because this is saying, Sony is considering it. I mean, I don't think it is a stretch to say that, yeah, they probably are considering it, even if this source, is telling the truth or not. And ultimately, this is really just, it looks like in the early stages, and I don't think this separation, as the article said, between the two Warner Brothers directory divisions is actually going to happen for about another year now. So if Sony is looking at this, and even if they are very serious about this, it probably won't actually be official for another year. But nonetheless, it is kind of interesting, because these are some fairly big gaming IPs. This is like a Mortal Kombat in the DC universe, like the Batman games. You also got the Hogwarts Legacy, the Harry Potter games, the Lord of the Rings games, and like the Middle-earth games, and you got the Lego games, like the Star Wars games. Scribblenauts is a random one that I've heard about before. I have no idea anything about that game, but I'm seeing that's also Warner Bros. So yeah, some fairly big gaming IPs, and I think this could actually be a huge W for PlayStation. One that I think is kind of long overdue. I mean, we've seen Xbox have these huge acquisitions recently. Recently, you had Activision. Going back a few years, you had Bethesda, and even going back a few years before that, you had like Mojang. Whereas with PlayStation, I just feel like we haven't really seen any like huge acquisitions like that, but this could change that. But of course, like I said, that is all assuming this rumor is true, and even if it is true, this is all in the early stages. If Warner Brothers is actually looking at selling this division, I could see Sony very much wanting to purchase them, and that could be huge for PlayStation.